Terrence Afer-Anderson. BioRhythms is brought to you by the New Journal and Guide and executive publisher Brenda H. Andrews. Today we're in the studios of Dream City University. We have a very special show for you today and a very, very special guest. His name, Mr. Monty Ross.
All right. Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, not a problem.
I am so glad to have you on the show, Monty. I mean, since I first met you, I said, this is a good, decent, intelligent brother with a good heart and especially gifted. Yeah. So we want to talk about your career in a second. And folks are going to know more about you in just a few. But where did you begin? Where did it all start? Where were you born, Monty?
I was born in Omaha, Nebraska.
In Omaha?
Yeah,
okay.
Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. And yes, there are black people in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, all right.
I always have to throw that in because people always say, Omaha, Nebraska.
And a big insurance company.
And a big insurance company.
Right.
Warren Buffett is from Omaha, Nebraska.
I didn't know that.
One of the richest men in the world. Johnny Carson was from Omaha, Nebraska. Bob Gibson, world famous World Series pitcher with the St. Louis Cardinals. Johnny Rogers is from there. UNO is big football town. Yeah.
And there's Monty Ross, and you've done some pretty incredible things. You were born in Omaha. Mm-hmm. How long did you live there? You were educated in the school system there?
Yeah, I went to Long Elementary School, Conestoga Elementary School. Okay. After that, Tech High, and then I went to North High School and graduated a long time ago. Okay. And after that, I went to Morehouse College. My first year, scholarship ran out. I went to Bishop College after that, and then I came back and attended Clark College, and later, Clark is now Clark Atlanta University, but back then it was just Clark College, and I ended up graduating from Clark College. Okay,
we're going to talk about an acquaintance that you found in the university in the college setting. But before we do that, what was your major in school?
My major in college is actually social work. So I have a degree in social science and a minor in mass communications.
Okay, now you are a filmmaker, a director, an instructor, and you met someone in a college setting that played a big part of your life for some 17 years. Who was that?
Well, that was Spike Lee.
Spike Lee.
That was Spike Lee. We both attended Morehouse that same year, class of 1979, but he ended up graduating with the class of 1979, and I ended up over at Clark, as I said previously. But in theater, that's where I really got a real hold on what I wanted to do in school. Mm-hmm. And at the time, you had to think 1975, so you're thinking about, all of the social things that are going on. It's the end of the civil rights movement. Right. But we were still babies growing up in the civil rights movement, so we really had that as a part of, our mission and who we were, and giving back to the community was priority. But in theater, that's when I could really be myself. And I didn't know that until that first semester of school. I was really bored. I finished my homework and did all those things, and I went across the street from Morehouse over to Clark, and I wandered into the drama department, and I fell in love with it. It felt right. And the first play was The Bad Seed. I auditioned for it, I got in the cast, and had a wonderful time. And I started meeting actors. And some of the actors who had been there previously, one was Samuel L. Jackson. Ah, okay. So I met Sam way back then. I met his wife was, at the time he wasn't married, but his wife was LaTanya Richardson. They were dating back then. Kenny Leon, who just won a Tony for Raisin in the Sun. He was a classmate of mine, and
that was a good place to be.
So we all quote unquote were theater rats. We hung out in the theater. That's what we loved to do. And Kenny, well, he may get on me for saying this, and he may not. But his girlfriend used to come up and visit. And she would come over to the theater, and that was Angela Bassett. Okay. So I met a young Angela Bassett, before all the fame. So there's all of these folks. Bill Nunn, yes. Who played Radio Raheem and Do the Right Thing, was in School Days. He was also, one of our theater buddies. And it's just tons of other folks who were there at the time. So I was very fortunate to meet them. And I think when I look back on it, the best thing about that experience was, for some strange reason, we all looked at each other and became friends. I mean, friends in the truest sense of the word. Meaning,
what do you think caused that? Do you think it was just because you had a kindred spirits or a kindred interest, or what was that?
I think it was a kindred spirit, you know, because you had to really stand on that stage and deliver. You couldn't be, you know, standing on that stage with the likes of a Samuel L. Jackson,
right.
you know, likes of LaTanya. I mean,
you had to
really bring it.
So, bring it. Right.
So as a freshman, man, my eyes are wide open, and I said, if I want to hang out with these folks, they're really taking this stuff serious. You know, they really are passionate about their careers, but they also are furthering their education. So for me, you know, white-eyed guy from Omaha, I'm like, yes, these folks are really cool.
Right.
And that was, in general, though, that was the Atlanta University Center. And as most people who have gone to HBCUs can attest to, it's the spirit. It's the camaraderie. You are going to meet someone who may have a very, you know, their parents may be just rich. Let's just call it what it is. And they may come and say, okay, you know, but you have kids from poor working backgrounds, blue-collar backgrounds, and you get all of us together, and the next thing you know, you have everybody trying to feed off of each other, and we're all motivating each other, we're all helping each other out. At least that's the HBC that I grew up. That was the environment that I grew up. I don't know if it's still like that. It probably is on some level.
Let me ask you a question. You say that when you found theater, you kind of like found something that felt very natural and comfortable. Had you had any interest or done any theater at all in the school system back in Omaha?
Yeah,
you had done some other things. Okay.
Yeah, in Omaha. Well, for me, it was weird because I was a shy kid, and you know.
Well, a lot of us are in the theater.
And I had the thick glasses. And I was dark-skinned, and believe you me, you know, you get introverted really quick, you know. Sure. But I had this other side of me that always came out in church. Church felt like, you know, I could really be myself. And so the story goes, one day the choir director, we were acting up. I think we were like 7th, 8th grade. We were acting up in choir rehearsal. She said, look, I've had enough. You know, I'm telling your parents. And we were like, okay. And she said, well, I want somebody to speak. Oh, you guys are always talking. I want somebody to speak for Youth Day. And the room you hear a pin drop, right? So my friend looks at me, man, you always saying you're going to say something, say something. So I said, okay. So my hand shot up. She said, okay, Monty's volunteered to deliver a speech. And everybody turned around and said, Monty, you going to deliver the speech? Oh, all right. And I got home, man, I was shaking. And for 2 weeks, you know, I was trying to prepare. And I just didn't really know how to prepare for it. And then I just said, you know what, I'm just going to be myself. Right. So the day comes, I get up there, you know, and they introduce me, and I go up there, you know. I don't know what I said. To this day, I don't know what I said. Whatever I said,
but it worked, though,
yeah. The place erupted.
Fantastic.
And the organist, you know, she would, as soon as, you know, the spirit would catch on, you know, she would, you know. So I heard that organ, I was like, whoa, what's going on, right? And after that, she picked me to be in any play. You know, I said, okay, Monty, I want you to learn these lines.
Didn't that tell you something that you had it?
I guess. But see, that was in the church, and they're always encouraging you, you know, and if you show any promise, you know, they're gonna push you right out there. Now, what happened in high school, junior year, so this is around my junior year that all of this starts to take place. But anyway, I go audition for a play. I don't even remember the play. I was shaking.
But this was out in the community. This was not at the church.
No, this wasn't at the church. This was at school, right? Okay. So at school is very formal, you know. This is when I hear the term audition. I didn't know anything about audition, right? And I'm sitting in the class, you know, and all the other thespians come in. You know, you could all tell they were the high school thespians. Right, you know? They're looking at me like, who's this guy, right? So they pass out the book, you know, the play.
Script, right.
The script. So they pass it out. Right. And it was one of these little books like this. So the letter's about this thing, little, right? I hadn't read a script. Right, so they had to really point to when I was supposed to, when my part came up, they were like, they looked at me like, oh my God, who is this guy, right? And man, I stumbled through that, and I didn't care, I didn't care. And I even had the nerve to go back for callbacks, to look and see if I made it for callbacks, right? And I hadn't made it, right? And all the thespian, cast were just walking past me and like looking like, dude, like, why don't you just give it up? Why don't you go to the Black Studies Department? Why don't you go hang out over there? Yeah. So I told my counselor, I said, listen, man, put me in all my electives. I want to do theater classes.
Yeah. The groundwork had been laid for you to succeed and excel in the college theater environment.
Somewhat, but I was discovering all this. I was a late bloomer. I was discovering all of this, and like I said, the fact that I went to audition first for this play, and I did so horrible. I needed another chance, and that came out of me as far as understanding who I was. That I was the type of person, if you tell me no, I'm gonna find a way to get in. And those classes were a way for me to open up and really understand what was going on, and learn about how plays are structured, the writing, and then when you start reading about the bios of the writers, then you begin to see like what they went through. I could identify with that.
Understood. Now let's fast forward a bit, because I could talk to you all day, and we need to go out and throw a couple down and chat. But let's fast forward to you met Spike in college, and you guys began a collaboration that endured for some 17 years. Right. What kind of projects did you work on with Spike?
We worked on a lot of different projects. Spike majored. By the time he was a junior, he had to declare a major, so he chose film. So he had to do small film projects and things like that. So Spike would always come to me, hey man, I need you to do a voiceover. I said, okay, boom, I do the voiceover. He said, man, I'm doing a photography shoot. I need you to, I need to use your hands to model. Right. I said, okay, cool, whatever. And so whenever he had these little small projects, he would come get me to do voiceovers and things like that. So, he would put his stuff up in class, and all of a sudden, he was getting A's, Right. So then Dr. Herbert Eichelberger, who was in charge of the film department, came to me and he said, man, you and Spike, you guys are a really good team, you work together, and it seems like, he pulls you in and he gets an A in class, And I'm like, cool. So that began our working relationship, and we shot an 8 millimeter movie called Black College, The Talented 10th, and that was by a mutual friend named George Folks. And George wanted to go to film school, and we just so happened to get a grant. It was like a $1,000 grant, and I have to this day to thank, he's not a councilman, it was Michael Lomax. And Michael Lomax now, I think he still works with, I think he's president of one of the colleges, I can't think of it now, but it was him who was very influential in getting a grant for the AU Center and getting that grant. That really jump-started us. Rolanda Watts, who ended up, having a career in television before Oprah Winfrey, she was involved. She was the co-star, I was the star, and we shot a little 8 millimeter movie, about 15 minutes. We took it to all the campuses and screened the movie and got feedback. And little did we know that was the germ. That was the thing that got us really involved in the whole process, from the idea, conceiving, the scripting, to filming, and then marketing and promoting and then distribution.
Before we talk about some of the projects that you guys worked on together that did so well, you did something yourself. You were telling me the other day about a piece, and I can't remember. It was about a barbershop. What was that?
Oh, that was Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop.
Yeah.
We cut heads. That was Spike's thesis film, and he wrote the script, and he said, hey man, I've written this script, and I have all of these letters that Spike used to write. I mean, before the internet and before texting.
You still have those letters?
I still have the letters. I mean, it's like a huge, voluminous amount of letters, and Spike is the letter writer. He loves to write letters. And so he would write a letter, hey man, every step along the way, I'm finishing up grad school, I have this, I have a script that I've written, Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop, we cut heads. He told me to, you know, the whole synopsis for it, the script.
And you were featured. You played the lead.
Yeah, and I auditioned for the lead, and I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I went up to New York.
So you had to audition for him.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was good when I wanted to audition too.
Right.
You know, because I wanted him. I didn't just because we were friends. I didn't want him to feel like
I understand.
He had to quote unquote hook me up.
Right.
I wanted to actually, you know, go through the whole process of auditioning. Get to New York though, and he said, "Hey man, your license is good?" I said, "Yeah, my license is good." So I ended up driving the production van, helping out with wardrobe, helping out with props, you know, and that's when I learned about those 20 camera cases and grip equipment and dolly equipment. And, you know, we loaded all of the equipment in his uncle's basement, and that's where we worked from in Brooklyn. And the story is, I've been knowing Malcolm Lee since he was eating milk and cookies. And Malcolm used to come downstairs to the basement and say, "What are you guys doing?" We said, "We're making films." And he got really wide-eyed and said, "Hey, man, wow, that's pretty cool."
For those that don't know, Malcolm Lee.
Malcolm Lee is director now of one of the big hit movies, Best Man Holiday, and that whole series. But I'm really proud of him. And like I said, to watch him go from a small child to what he's doing now, I'm just really happy.
Okay, before we run out of time, I want to get some more information, so share some more information about you. But before we do that, just if you could just run off some of the films that you and Spike did that our viewers would know.
They probably know She's Gotta Have It,
Right.
Do the Right Thing, No Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Crooklyn.
You worked on
Hoppers,
Malcolm X too, didn't you?
Malcolm X.
Right.
Yeah, and also did a film for Showtime Paramount on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Spike. And then I went back and hung out with Spike on Inside Man. Yeah.
Okay.
And I went back and just coordinated, you know, his intern program.
I see. I see.
So all in all, I would say that as a learning to be.
I was about to ask you, what did you learn from that?
Learning to be a co-producer, learning to be a vice president of production. We really learned by doing, and the reaction that we got on Spike's work was really amazing, because you know you got a 350 square foot loft. You got, you know, a broke down bed, and Spike's bed is kind of leaning to the side. You got a big old round, you know, kitchen table, this big old phone. And we're sitting here talking about, man, you know, when this film comes out, yada, 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 yada. And Spike is saying, man, I got to get this shot in 3 weeks. I said, man, I can get your film made for you in 2 weeks. And we figured out, you know, well, we're going to be creative here. We're going to be creative there. We're going to do it this way, do it this way. And we ended up shooting it in 12 days, and it felt good. It really felt like this is something that it was one of those things. This was She's Gotta Have It, and this was like the summer of '85. And I always tell people always ask me, you know, like, you know, what's one of my favorite films? And of course it's Malcolm X. Of course there's, you know, the big films, but it was that film, She's Gotta Have It, because that was every single ounce of energy that we were giving to our careers and giving to ourselves, and really believing and having faith in each other, and knowing that, you know, whatever happens, good or bad, you know, we were going forward, and, you know, and not backwards. And one of the things that Spike doesn't do now that he used to do back then, especially if you look at School Days, you know, he comes running down the hall and he fist pumps. Right. And there was so many fist pump days when we were doing She's Gotta Have It. You know, for every little obstacle that we got into, every time we got a solution to it, you know, it seemed to work. And it seemed like to be more magic. It was more magic helping us move forward. So there's a lot of, you know, that kind of thing. So
you work with an acquaintance of mine with Spike, and that's Ruth Carter, costume designer, who's doing a whole lot now.
Yeah, Ruth Carter. Ruth Carter joined us on School Days, and she actually took over my apartment because she was there in New York working with Spike. So my apartment was just maybe like seven New York City blocks from the office, and so she came and she took over my office, took over my apartment, you know, and so I had to run back. She's gonna like, Monty, don't tell this story. So I had to run back, right, to the apartment. Said,
I'm gonna make sure she sees this.
So I said, you know, I said, Ruth, I got to come to the apartment. I got to pick up something. I got to go back to Atlanta. You know, she said, okay. So I come running back, and she's all dressed up, you know. I mean, she was looking very professional first day, you know, that she's going to be with Spike. And I looked, and she had these heels on. They were like really tall heels. I mean, she looked great, believe me.
She's a beautiful woman.
Very. And I said, I think you should wear sneakers. And she said, what? Look what I got on, Monty. You know, I gotta set the tone. I'm the stylist. And I said, listen. First of all, you got to walk down the hill.
Right.
I said, then you got to be with Spike all day. And Spike is known to walk. Spike is known to be over here. Spike is known to be over there. And if you got on those tall shoes, he's going to look at you like, oh, man, maybe I made a mistake. So she got some sneakers, changed her whole gear up, and went to work. And she's been working in the industry and ended up working with Spike, you know, for a long time on all of the films, etc.
What can we look for in the next few years from Monty Ross?
I have films to finish. You know, there's one finish on Dr. Roland Wiggins. It's a documentary. I have to finish that film because Dr. Wiggins was put it like this, he was into the computerization of music back in the 50s, and he was working with the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia on a project, and very much, if you think about GarageBand or you think about the way music is played now through the computers, he was working on this back in the 50s. And he has tons of other influences in the world of education. So I wanted to do a documentary on him. I have another 2 or 3 documentaries that I'm working on. I have a feature film that I have to finish. And also Mr. Clyde Santana, who I met here, who was a prolific writer. Good brother. And we have his project, Loco, that we're working on, in addition to all of his other projects that we're working on. Right. So, and the goal is to get Clyde's work out there. And I just want to say, man, we're really happy, and we appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. So. Well,
I'm delighted to be working with you guys because you know you're all a part of the production team for the show. You know, so it makes it even sweeter to have the opportunity to interview you. You know, and again, I want to thank you for doing what you do at the Attics as well as with BioRhythms. If there could be one thing that you would say to an aspiring filmmaker, what would that be?
I would say you got to make films. I would say that to that particular person. You know, tall, short, skinny, you know, whatever your disability is, whatever it is that you are going through as a person, you know, you have to really make films. And today, everything is very affordable. If you don't have a camera, you have at least 5 people who have cameras. You know, some people have 4 cameras, 3 cameras. There's lighting that's available. What is really missing is people really understanding how to craft a great story.
And
the more you know how to craft a great story, and then learn the skill of how to show, not tell, a great story. Right.
Well, I want to thank you so very much, Monty, for joining us today.
Oh,
this
man,
has been an incredible time.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of BioRhythms. Be sure to take a look at our website at TerraVisionENT.com. That's TerraVisionEntertainment.com. Producers of BioRhythms. We want to thank everybody on the production team, and especially thank you for joining us on BioRhythms.